Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh, and whatever special guest he has today, you can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good, and follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the program. This is part 2 of our interview with Gavin Newsham. He is the author of Project Tiger, The Birth of Genius and the Price of Greatness. I feel like I'm back in my news days, like prior to being a sports anchor and journalist in the Boston and Philadelphia areas. I was a regular news anchor, and I know what breaking news is. I thought I was done with that, but interesting timing, because the first part of my conversation with Gavin Newsham, we recorded it about a week ago, and we're recording this on Wednesday, April 1st. A couple days after we did the interview on his new release, Project Tiger, held in my hand right now for those that can't see, those that listen in the car. If you look on YouTube, you will see the cover of Project Tiger, and it has Tiger as a very young man, a teenager, with his gorgeous golf swing. And a couple of days after we had that interview, Tiger was involved in that rollover accident in Jupiter, Florida. So needless to say, there are some updates on that. And it's a good time to follow up with Gavin Newsham because he's been extremely busy because of then. Timing is everything. We didn't create the timing. We just react to it. And this gives us another opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the life of Tiger Woods with the curiosity is part of how he was raised. And that was the premise of the book. Might that have contributed to some of the problems that are now on public display to the rest of the world? Also, Tiger has released a statement in which he is seeking treatment, and he's taking some time away to try and get his life together. And that sounds like something that is definitely necessary at this point. Hey, if you have not subscribed to the podcast, would you do so? That's important. And leave a 5-star review. That matters to the bean counters at YouTube and Spotify, and also Apple. And it also matters to our sponsors. Big thanks to Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. Much better than a beer, much better than those tired seltzers that everybody is truly getting tired of, by the way. If you want a drink for golfers by golfers, Party is for you. And Paradise Craft Distributors is the exclusive distributor of Party drinks in Florida. It's a great time to buy real estate. If you're in the market for that, then get in contact with the Golf Real Estate Pros at suncoastdreams.com. Vince Vizzacaro, Gene Walsh, and Samantha Walsh have you covered. Good time to buy at Lakewood National Golf Club, which, by the way, at the time of this recording, it is the week of the Corn Ferry Tour event that we call the Lecom Suncoast Classic. So a lot of golf in the neighborhood, and a lot of good opportunities for you if you want to be a part of that. And if all that golf has you so tired that you need a chance to unwind, red light therapy, cold water plunge, hot tub, massage, whatever it is, Violet Spa in downtown Sarasota has you covered. All right, let's get into it with Gavin. Well. First things first, man. How busy have you been since last Friday?
Hello, Kevin, and thanks for having me back. Well, I guess it was when my phone started pinging away and people saying, have you seen the latest news about Tiger? And it was friends, then it was my publisher, then it was my publicist, and it was, okay, we're going to have a busy week. And sure enough, that's the way it's transpired.
Okay, so you're busy and everything. Are you all that surprised by what happened? I guess the initial news for me is like, oh, and then it's like, oh, again. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, very much so. It's so when I started thinking about writing the book, it was in the wake of the crash in 2021, and back then, you know, Tiger lucky to escape alive from that wreck, but it has echoes of that. Obviously, the seriousness of the crash isn't as bad, but the fact that he's going through it again 5 years later, that there's something in there that won't let him just live a normal life. I don't know what it is, but there's something that he needs to get a grip on, because it can't happen this many times. It really can't.
Well, I learned something in reading excerpts from the police report. We know about multiple surgeries, but the sheriff's deputy that handled the case, in talking to him, has in her notes, which were released in some of the reports, what he told her about the number of surgeries, because he was having trouble performing the sobriety tests alongside the road. Mm-hmm. Most notable was a limp, which we understand is related to his leg, but also his back. And he told her that he had 7 back surgeries and 20 different surgeries on his leg. So that is far more. It's always with athletes, like I'll use NFL players, for example, because I covered the NFL for a number of years with the New England Patriots, and people, they're like, oh, well, he's had, Gronk's had X number of surgeries. Whatever is reported publicly, it's always more, right? But I was astounded by that number. Are you?
Absolutely astounded, because it's the idea that I think, not that the public want to see Tiger back playing, which is a given. Okay, people want to see him back on the golf course. But I think he believes he can still do it, and I think that is the problem. I think the fact that he thinks he can get over everything that his body's been through, forget about the stuff off the course, but he can get through those amount of surgeries, and that impact on his body, on his limbs, on everything that you need to work well, to play golf effectively. The fact that he still believes that I think he still believes that he can get over that and get back on the golf course is actually going to be his downfall. I think if it was me, I'd call it a day. I'd call it a day and go out with some dignity and maybe a little blaze of glory as well.
As I'm reading your book and I'm getting into it, and I've read other books about him, and I've read so much about Tiger because, in my opinion, he's the most fascinating person in the world for reasons that we know and reasons that we don't know. And then new nuggets arise, and they're deeply embedded in your book. But the one thing that seems missing from him is he doesn't seem to have, aside from scuba diving, he doesn't really seem to have hobbies or something else that he can identify with. And now that his health has taken away from the greatness of his game, not to mention his age, I just wonder if there's anything left. And in the end, he's terribly insecure and terribly unhappy with what's unfolded in his life, despite all the great success. Your thoughts on that?
I think the key word in what you've just said, Kevin, is unhappy. And I've always, ever since the scandal of 2009, when his marriage collapsed, you rarely see him smiling in public, on the golf course, in the rare occasions he has played. You don't see him. You don't see that character that you saw when he turned pro in '97, when he was dominating golf in the early 2000s. That very rarely a smile on his face. And I think if he had some other outlet, and previously that's clearly been women, then he might be a different person. But I think this stems back to the fact that his parents never let him play in any other sports as a kid. They just wouldn't countenance it at all because of the risk of injury, and the risk to his golf career. And I think the fact that he's never been able to do that to any great extent, and the fact that he didn't have the time to invest in friendships with other kids because he was so busy with golf as a kid, I think it's had a massive detrimental effect on his life going forward.
So, Gavin, it was interesting when Tiger went into the Golf Hall of Fame, and his daughter gave the very nice speech about him, and he was there. And Tim Fincham, the former commissioner, was there, and he was talking about the marketing plan, what they were going to do with Tiger. And they did extensive research, and they discovered that Tiger was the most recognizable face on the planet, more so than the Pope, more so than an American president, any other sports figures. Like somebody in Nepal will recognize Tiger. There's no place in the world he can't go that people don't recognize him. And as we see with like child actors and Hollywood stars, when you reach a certain level of stardom at a certain age, you almost get stuck there. Mm-hmm. So you have this feeling of arrested development, and you don't change, you don't mature as an adult. You're kind of stuck in a place, and you do immature things, like you're selfish instead of being selfless and generous with stuff like that. Do you see that with Tiger?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was the warning signs were there from like the very first time he appeared on TV when he was 2 on the Mike Douglas show. You know, he went on there with his dad, but also the other guests were Jimmy Stewart and Bob Hope. And there's a story in the book that after the recording, Jimmy Stewart was talking to Mike Douglas in the green room and said, "I'm really worried about this kid because I've seen so many kids like him pushed front and center by their parents that have ended up, you know, spat out by the industry." And there's a lot in that, you know, And that was at the age of 2. You know, fast forward, you know, nearly 50 years, and you can see the effects, I think.
His relationship with his father. There are some that think that late Earl Woods was the father of the year. There are the embraces after Masters wins, after all of his USGA titles and everything like that. It's a lot more complicated than just my dad's my hero. We're the best of friends. Can you mine a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, I think it's really strange because today I was researching something I'm writing on the 2006 Open. British Open, as you call it, at Hoylake, when Tiger won just after his dad had died. And I don't know if you recall the final green when he closed it out and he burst into tears and was consoled by Stevie. You know, it's at that point you think, this is the guy that's made him the golfer that he is. His dad was the guy that made him the golfer he is, but also made him the man that he is. And they're two very, very different things, you know. And I'd argue that win at Hoylake in 2006 was probably the start of the downfall, I think, because from there on in, Tiger was a law unto himself, I think.
So he's alone. He has all the accolades. He has all the admiration of people. But if you don't have somebody to share it with, then it's a lonely life, right? And I hear countless stories about how Tiger, after the breakup of his marriage, he has children. They talk about what a great father he was, to which I think a lot of the fathers would say, well, part of being a good father is being faithful to your wife, because that sets the example. And early in Tiger's development, like back in his teen years, he was witness to a lot of bad behavior between his father and his mother, on the father's end toward the mother, the infidelity there. And he told a past girlfriend, "I'll never be like that." And then he turned into that. What does that tell us about like conditioning and examples that fathers can set, for better or worse, for their children?
I think it shows just how ingrained and impactful that kind of behavior was on Tiger. I mean, I spoke to a couple of his school friends who both said that, you know, who kept in touch with him, and both of them said Tiger hated the fact throughout high school that his dad was unfaithful to his mother, and yet he did exactly the same. He did exactly the same, and it shocked them. I think it certainly shocked the world and the sports world as well. But it's not that surprising, you know. I mean, you look at for a young man that's just lived such a a closeted lifestyle where he's not been able to do anything, not been able to do all the normal things that people of his age would have done, in his teenage years. All those silly things that kids do at that age, all those distractions that suddenly seem like the most exciting things in the world. Never had the chance to do that. When's he going to do it? Well, I'll do it when I'm my own man and I'm a multi-millionaire, and then I'll do it because nobody can tell me what to do.
It almost, Tiger reminds me of Bill Belichick in some ways. In covering Bill Belichick, seeing him win multiple Super Bowls and everything, he just didn't seem to have what appeared to be like the appropriate amount of joy after it was all done. Now, when Tom Brady won, you could see the joy on him and the joy on the faces of his teammates because it was a celebration, because they earned it. And, finally they can let go and just, eventually you get back into character and you get back to the grind of things. But I never saw that with Bill. I mean, hardly at all. I didn't see the joy. And there's a good story about when Tiger was with Elin and he won the first tournament when they were dating at the time. And she's like, well, how are we going to celebrate? Because she was the nanny to, who's the Swedish? Jesper Parnevik.
Jesper Parnevik, yeah.
Right. And she's like, well, that's what he would do after he won. And Jesper only won just a couple times. The Tiger's like, oh, no, that's not how we do that. Which to me is sad because if you don't have moments of a release and to share things with people, then what's the point? And then if you identify with one single thing and it seems like he just identifies with his golf and he can't do that anymore, it just seems like he's in a terrible place. So off he goes through some kind of treatment. All right. That's what he said in his statement. How do you think he has to come back to try and get his name back? I don't even know if I can say his good name back, but just how does he try? How does he try to restore his name and his legacy?
If I were him, Gavin, I'd go away. I'd have the treatment that he clearly needs, and I'd come back and I'd announce my retirement immediately. I think it's the only window of opportunity he's got now to salvage something from this and to come away with dignity and, let's face it, the respect that he deserves for his golf career. I mean, it's just remarkable. However you look at it, however you look at stuff off the course, fine, different matter. On the golf course, what he's done for the game, what he's done for his fellow pros. I mean, he could walk away and say, I'm not playing again, and he'd get that sign off, that farewell that he deserves, I think. And it's a big call. But I think he needs somebody to tell him that, because I don't think he'll make the decision himself.
Gavin Newsham is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. He is the author of Project Tiger, The Birth of Genius and the Price of Greatness. This podcast is brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. If you're looking for golf real estate, check in with the golf real estate pros at suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. Vince Vizicaro, Gene Walsh, and Samantha Walsh got you covered. Great time to buy at Lakewood National Golf Club and BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. Gavin, tell me this. I think it seems like some golfers and other media figures are being a lot more direct about their criticism and their commentary with Tiger this time around, because in the past, it seemed to me, like way back in 2009 when he hit the fire hydrant, a lot of guys are like, well, I had no idea this was going on. No, that's not true. Okay. Mm-hmm. Guys knew. They were just afraid to say anything bad about Tiger because Tiger had leverage on everybody with his invitational tournaments and everything like that. What's been your reaction to those that are sort of in the know or closer to the action than say we are, and then being very candid with their comments?
I think that's borne out a certain weariness, Kevin, now. I think that it's happened again, yet again. I think they, like me, want Tiger to emerge from all of this with some semblance of dignity and some semblance of respect for all the things that he's achieved in the game. And like I said before, everything, the reason all the pros are on his side is, like you say, he had leverage on them, but also the fact that he's changed their lives beyond recognition. He wasn't, Tiger didn't move the needle. He was the needle in golf, right? He changed everything about the purses on the PGA Tour and in pro golf more generally. He was the guy. Without him, it doesn't happen. Maybe would David Duval have done that? Not a chance. When he was the hottest player in the world, back in his day, not a chance. Without Tiger, these guys aren't living the lives that they're leading. So he's it's an interesting aspect of it is the fact that I think that people are not just weary of the soap opera that is Tiger Woods, but also the fact that he's still not getting a grip on the obvious issues that he has.
Tell me this, Gavin, aside from the upbringing and the friends that he had and his childhood is just so unusual. And I know that from reading your book and other books. Is there one particular story that just really stood out to you that was just so profound in how it was done, that's immersed within the pages of Project Tiger, that just really sticks with you? You're like, wow, I didn't really know that, or there was more to it. One in particular?
Yeah, there was one really interesting story. It harks back to what I said about his parents just controlling every aspect of his life. And that was when the assistant pro at the Navy Club, where his dad used to play, Joe Groman, basically snuck Tiger out of the house to play a bit of football with a couple of friends. And they were having a great time. And Tiger was loving it. He was landing touchdown after touchdown. He absolutely in his element. And yet there's one point that Joe Groman told me that was where he threw the ball to him and Tiger caught it, but without looking, ran straight into a tree, knocked himself out completely. And for a moment, Groman thought he'd killed the greatest junior golfer in the world, And Tiger wouldn't go home that day because he was so scared of telling his parents that he'd been playing football that he'd injured himself. And Groman, to me, said, it was heartbreaking to see a kid who just wanted to play a bit of ball not being able to do even the simplest of little things. And I think that really resonated and also kind of encompassed the idea that Tiger's childhood wasn't his own. It never was. And it wasn't even a childhood to that extent, So, that really stuck with me, I think.
When I think of how he was raised to be this prodigy and everything and a provider for his family, I don't know a single person that's like that. Well, maybe some Hollywood people where the parents were just sort of like remorse on the side of a shark. But I just find it so unhealthy. I mean, most of us have children and we raise them, we try to shape them, but what we're trying to do is to get them to ultimately get out of the house and get on their own and figure it out, right? But when you're the gravy train and everything, I just can't imagine the pressure that he grew up under. And it just seems that there's only so long that you can take something like that. So tell me this, where can people find the book, and has there been a bump in sales since what happened?
On the latter point, Kevin, I think I'm waiting to hear from my publishers, but certainly the ranking on Amazon seems to have gone up significantly, which is so thank you, Tiger. Amazon's the best place to go and get the book. It's all there. So Project Tiger, Amazon.com, and you'll find it there.
But one more question. Does the PGA Tour, I mean, he doesn't play it actively, but we remember when he came back from the crash that he was forced to do that press conference, which was so awkward, but so compelling. Is there going to be any pressure on the new commissioner to have a similar redo of that? How does he, is it just a retirement thing? And that's your suggestion, and that might be the best thing. I don't know, but is that how you could foresee it going down?
I don't think there'll be any pressure now. I think if anything, it'll go the other way. I think there'll be some subtle or even not so subtle encouragement to call it a day and maybe adopt a more ambassadorial role in the game. I think, maybe take the Ryder Cup captaincy, maybe concentrate a bit more on his TGL golf and things like that, because nobody wants to see him struggling around a golf course. You know what I mean? Like literally, I want to remember him at Pebble Beach, obliterating everybody in sight. I don't want to remember him as a 50-year-old guy limping around Augusta. I don't think anybody else does.
Does he have one person in his life? I think we all, maybe we are that friend, or we know somebody. I mean, I know people that have had problems with addiction, and I had to have some really difficult talks with them. The come to Jesus talks. It's like, listen, whether you know this or not, this is how it comes across, and this is how you are, and this is what must be done. Is there somebody, whether it's one of his agents, whether it's Mark Steinberg, I don't know, but does anybody have his ear that could just talk him straight and set him straight, or is he just the lone wolf?
I don't think there is. I mean, I would have said prior to 2009, I would have said Mark Steinberg, and the fact that he and at the time Stevie as well were saying that they had no idea about the way Tiger was behaving suggests there's a huge power imbalance in that relationship anyway. So has that changed in the intervening years? Probably not. He's Tiger Woods. He does what he wants, and he'll have to live with the consequences. Sadly, and it's just the idea that this incredibly talented guy. Greatness isn't just about talent. I'm just thinking about this today. It's not just about talent. It's not about obsession and focus and discipline and all those things that you need to be the best in the world. He had that in abundance. It's also the ability to rebuild and repair things when everything falls apart. He's done it a few times now, and he's going to have to do it again. And I don't know if he can this time.
His body, like the leg, when I see it, it looks like a third the size of the healthy one. And just each surgery, it doesn't get you back to where you were. It's a lesser version. It's an improved version of where you were based on the injury and the atrophy on things. But I hope it works out for him, and I wish you good success. Thank you for coming back on, and I'm sure I will be seeing you around making the rounds, because you took a deep dive, and it's just interesting how things work out for you. Again, books available on Amazon. That's the best place to find you, Gavin.
Yeah. Thanks again, right, Kevin. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Gavin Newsham has been our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. Project Tiger, The Birth of Genius and the Price of Greatness, available on Amazon and bookstores near you. Big thanks to Party Drinks, the title sponsor, and the Golf Real Estate Pros, Gene Walsh, Vince Fizzicaro, and Samantha Walsh, SuncoastDreams.com, and BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. For Gavin Newsham, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the Golf Real Estate Pros, Gene Walsh and Vince Fizzicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.